Hi, I'm Stephanie Rozzo. Welcome to Nature Sketch Create's Common Dandelion Go Out and Sketch instructional video. In this video I'll be showing you how to sketch a common dandelion. First, make sure you have all the materials you need before you go out to sketch. You can head out to a garden, park, or even your backyard. Today I'm sketching a dandelion in my backyard. First, use a pencil to lightly draw a rough sketch of the plant to get the basic shape. Choose what parts of the plant you want and how you want it laid out on your paper, the composition. And I'm going to include this flower head and this seed bud here. It hasn't opened up for the seed head, and it may or may not. And I might include a leaf or two. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay that on there wherever I want it in my picture. If I want it over here, here, or here. I think I want it kind of center-ish, so I'm going to put it right here. And then I'm going to just trace the overall size. And this will make it much easier for you to draw it in. And I'm going to make a note as to where the different bracts start and end, just for sizing reference. I'm going to put little lines here. And then where the ray florets come out here. And then I'll just set it to the side and then draw it in. And I'm not going to get really exact, just a sketch. It's going to be really rough, sketchy, just to get an idea of the plant. And I can add some more details later with the ink. But for now, I'm just going to get real quick little details in, just to give me an idea of where things are at. Just doing a quick sketch. Might be just a little bit longer. Basically like how that is. So then I'll pick another part of this plant that I want to include. I'm going to include a leaf. And I'll include it on this side. So I'm just going to trace the outside of this leaf. Some of these little spikes as this toothed edges. Then I'll do the same thing I did with the flower head. Go ahead and set it to the side and start to draw in some of the details. So I'm going to draw this mid vein here, and then maybe a couple of the other veins. Probably wouldn't be able to see them all the time. I can't see these only in certain lights. So Just draw some of them in. Kind of rough, sketchy. Maybe draw in a few places where it has brown edges. Just to add a little more interest to the picture. Approximating where those are at, of course. And I think it's a pretty good outline, so I'm just going to leave it like that. Not worry too much. It's going to be a little bit bigger than the leaf itself, but I think that's okay. And I'd also like to add in this seed bud. So I'll move it to whatever direction I want to have it on my picture. I kind of like it bent over this way. Just like that. So I'll just trace it like I did with the other elements. Noting where that starts and ends. I'm going to draw a line for where the stem is. Set it to the side and draw in stem in. That's going to be a little bit bigger. This is much smaller since I drew. It's pretty small. I'm going to try to keep this a little more accurate here than I did with the leaf. And try to keep it the right size. So I'll keep that in mind as I draw. Again, not getting exact, it's just a sketch. I'm just going quickly drawing in the different parts of the seed head here. I might add a little more detail later. But for now, this is what I'm looking for. So, since I have a leaf, the flower head, and a seed head, I will go ahead and move on to adding some paints. So I have my paints that I mixed for the step-by-step lesson, and I'll revive them with a little bit of water and just reuse them. So just like in the step-by-step, I'm going to paint in a very light, wet layer of this green color. And I'm not going to worry too much about getting it exact. And I'll add it to all the green areas here. And I think there's some green under this red of the seed head stem. Making sure that my brush is really clean in between colors, I'm going to go ahead and pick up the Dandelion Bright Yellow and add that here. Just like in the step-by-step, I'm going to add a little bit of the Dandelion Red Blue to these lower bracts. Just getting not too exact at all. And a little bit to the stem. And here. And the upper bracts as well. And then I'm going to clean off my brush. Make sure this is dry. It feels pretty dry. I'm going to add some of that dandelion deep yellow. When it feels dry, I'm going to add another layer of this dandelion green. This time I'm going to add a darker layer of it. Chrome yellow didn't revive as nicely as I would have liked. It's a little grainy. And always mix in new colors so you don't have the grainy issue with your painting. It doesn't really bother me in this, but if you don't like it, it's an option. Adding it to some of these green areas, just like we did in step 5 of the step-by-step. Really applying everything you learned in that to create a sketch on your own. Not worrying too much about being messy. Pull it all together in the end with micron pens. Graininess from the chrome yellow not really reviving very well, but I think it still has a nice painting. It's kind of fun that it's grainy too and makes it a little different. Maybe if you have that same thing going on, you can make a little note why it's like that. It's just kind of textured. Lastly, I'm going to add a little bit of this deep reddish color, red blue color to the stem. It is much darker, and just here on these tips and a little bit here, and then maybe I'm going to add it to these brown areas on the edges, kind of reddish brown, a little bit in the stem itself, in the center of that leaf, the mid vein, and on the edges. This one more time, I think some speckles of red on the outside too. A little bit just in the bottom there as well. A bit more green to these leaves. Just want to be a little darker. And to this as well. Work on it too much, it's just a sketch. Right, now that I have all of the paint that I want in my image, I can let this dry and then add ink lines. Before adding ink, I'm going to go ahead and write in the common name and scientific name using my pencil. Now I'm ready to add some ink lines. I'm going to start with my smaller micron, the 005. And try to get this back in a similar position so that I can draw it in. I'll move on to a slightly thicker black pigment micron 01, and I'll look at each element and see where it might need some thicker lines just to add a little bit of contrast and definition, give it a little pop. Now I have the 08 black micron. I'm going to add just a few thick lines. Finally, you can add some observations. You can add more paint and ink and as many layers as you need. Just try not to get too carried away. Great job observing your world and keep practicing.